No hair, no makeup, don't care. Out walking, because it's glorious out today. And I have this idea that I wanted to share with you. And I'm going to say, forgive the fact that I didn't do it after I put myself together today. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether or not I put makeup on or do my hair. You can always turn the camera around and just listen to my voice. What's on my heart today is reading. How important reading is for your kids. But not just the fact that reading is important, but that there's different kinds of reading. So many homeschool families get this wrong. Now, my name is Bekki with A Better Way to Homeschool. We have 5 kids, boys. All of them were delayed readers. All of them, all 5 of them. Our youngest didn't even read till he was 10. Well, not really. There were too many people to read to him. He was dyslexic and whatever. We just never made a big deal about it. But we read to them every single day. So I have a couple things that I want to share with you. Number 1, it doesn't matter, hear me, it doesn't matter when your kids learn to read. It just matters that they learn to read eventually. It doesn't matter if they're 4, 10, even older. What matters is that they are marinated in excellent literature. Now you can decide what excellent literature is. If you need some suggestions for books, I will drop a few lists down in the descriptions after this. But the art of learning to read is easy for some kids and super hard for others. It's an abstract thing. Looking at these foreign characters on the page, putting them together, sounding them out, and then having them form words and images and ideas. Some kids get it, and some kids struggle. So that's why reading aloud is so important, because when we read to our kids, they hear the words spoken properly. They absorb the ideas, absorb the vocabulary, absorb the characters, absorb the plots, all the things. So, number 1, read to your kids until they move out. Just always read to your kids. The first level of reading is just enjoying a story. And I highly suggest that you do that with your kids for as long as possible, at least until middle school. Have reading be all about the story. What's going on? Who is the character? What are the colors? What are the smells? What are the challenges? What are the victories? Just about the story. There are different kinds of reading. So after you absorb and enjoy stories, you can teach your kids to dig deeper into stories. But if you do that with your kids before they fall in love with reading, before they fall in love with story, guess what happens? They hate reading. They hate it. And at the end of the day, we want to raise readers. We want kids to love to read, to devour books. So don't go into the other kinds of reading until your kids love stories, until they love being marinated in ideas and words. Whether they're doing it independently, even if they are, keep reading. Whether they're doing it independently or whether they're only getting it through audio, either an audiobook or you or different family members reading every single day, start there. It's critical for your kids' reading success that they hear the words and that they just absorb them for fun. Then there's other types of reading. There's reading like following a recipe. So you're reading just to get the instructions. Some are just pictures and you can just follow with the pictures. Following pictures and going step by step, that's reading. So don't think that it has to be a 500-page chapter book in order to declare to the universe that your kids read. If they can follow along, they are actually reading. So you can follow recipes. You can also do this kind of reading that's called scanning. Super important. I was an expert scanner. Not to brag or anything, but if I had a test in high school or I had homework to do in high school, didn't matter how many words were in the book, didn't matter how many pages were, I could find the answer and write it down so that I could forget it immediately. Scanning is the ability to know, I need to know what the definition of this word is, or I need to know what the author's main point is. You quickly are looking through and allowing an idea to kind of rise up and hit at you. Scanning. Oh, our kids are technology wired now, so they do a lot of that where they can put in searches where they can say, highlight all the words about jacaranda trees, and then that will come to the surface. Scanning is a skill. It's a different kind of reading though. So if your kids are trying to scan for information before they're solid readers, there can be some serious frustration in there. A lot of loss of time as they're looking for answers for things around all of these words and ideas that they can't process, that they can't understand. So there's scanning. There's also close reading, where you're picking apart what is on the page. Why did the author use these kind of words? What is the main idea of what's going on? What is the theme? What is the context? These are higher level things in reading and should not happen formally with kids that don't love to read. Instead, you start to introduce these things through natural conversation when you're sharing a story with your kids when they're younger, 12 and under. It's like, wow, that's an interesting, this story feels like it's about something. What do you think? What do you think this story is about? Is it, to me, and then you just have this conversation. Is it about good versus evil? Is it, gosh, it really feels like, you know, in the movie, when this character goes through this, it kind of feels like that to me. Or, wow, this is a dark story. You just have these conversations about it. As they get older, you can lean into it more. And you can introduce formal words like theme and plot and rise and fall and inciting incidents and all the things. So close reading, picking stories apart. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to head into the light because I want to be in the light. So close reading. Then one of the higher ways to enjoy a story, probably by the time they're late middle school, high school, is this thing called active reading. Active reading is when you read with a pencil. So why you don't want to start there? You don't want to read with a pencil when you're 7. You just want to enjoy the story. You read with a pencil. You underline words that you don't know. You write little notes on the side and say, Jackie, hey, my sister's name is Jackie. This story reminds me of the time that my sister, and then you let your brain do the rabbit trails. Or you ask questions. Why did that happen? What happened chemically to cause that reaction in the story? Active reading is asking questions, circling ideas, underlining words, looking up other concepts, doing research. You are actively working with the words on the page and allowing it to take you on journeys through learning, through curiosity, through exploration. There are many types of reading. There's deep, scientific. I remember one time, one of my kids has some medical issues, and I remember getting a paper from the doctor about here's the results of his test. And I remember reading it going, every other word is this scientific thing that I don't understand. And I had to take that paper, highlight all the words that I didn't understand, go to the dictionary, break apart the words in the Latin so that I could piece together what was on this page about my son. And that was reading. It was very active reading, but it was for a purpose that I could understand the medical issues that were going on the paper. Our 5-year-olds, our 7-year-olds, our 10-year-olds don't need to do that kind of reading. They need to fall in love with they need to be exposed to the different genres, the fantasies, the science fiction, the nonfiction, all the different types of stories, poetry, graphic novels, all the things, so that they can get a feel for what they're drawn to, because they're going to be drawn to a certain type of story. And then they just need time to enjoy it. I'm rereading one of my favorite trilogies right now. It's probably the third or fourth time that I read it. And I can tell you that when I close those books, I hope that nobody comes in and asks me, what's the theme? What's the plot? How did the characters change through the course of the story? What was the inciting incident? Can you write a 12-page paper about... I just want to enjoy the story. Our kids are the same way. And I'm going back to the story, the third, fourth, I think it's the fourth time. And I'm enjoying it at a much deeper level. The first time, I enjoyed the story and was just surprised and shocked by all the plots and twists and characters and stuff. Now, third or fourth time in, I'm leaning into the setting and the historical background and really marinating with the characters. Hi, birdie. Our kids need that. So if your kids are reading the same story over and over and over, know that it's because it's becoming a deep part of who they are. And they're taking in the ideas and the vocabulary and the twists and the challenges and the victories, and they're being woven into who they are as a person. So reading is important. Curriculum, not important. Reading, important. Why do I say curriculum? Curriculum is just a starting point. You do not need a reading curriculum to teach your kids to love to read. You need a library card or a well-stocked bookshelf or some well-loved books that are read over and over and over again, or a bookstore that you visit and read the books and then put them back on the shelf. You just need access to books, and you need to develop a culture of reading so that every day the kids are hearing words, being a part of a story, falling in love with different characters, different styles of characters, and then having active conversations. You, the parent, the adult, the homeschooler, the teacher, you look at things like, oh, this is what plot means. And then figure out how to package that into a question or conversation with your kids. So, okay, we're halfway through the story. These things have happened so far in the order of events, the plot of the story. What do you think is going to happen next? And you start weaving into your conversation the things that you want your kids to know by the time they graduate high school. How to write a plot to a story, how to map the plot of a story, how to predict what's going to happen, how to lean into a story and glean ideas or vocabulary words. But not everybody's an author, the same way that not everybody's a mathematician. So I know many adults that don't know what an inciting incident is. They don't know what a conflict is within a story. They don't know what character development means. It doesn't impact their life at all. I happen to have raised a few writers. To them, character development and inciting incidents and rise and fall of action is very important because they're authors and they're screenwriters. And so this is the vocabulary of what it is they do. Most people just want to love the story and they want it to become part of them. And then if they love it, they want to tell you about it. Oh, I just read the best book and I got this out of it. Oh, I just found this author and I'm devouring everything that they wrote. And they want to tell you about it. They don't want to be quizzed about it. Our kids are no different. So when it comes to reading, read. Read for the sake of reading. Let your kids read for the sake of reading. Yes, the other things, they need to know what they are by the time they graduate high school. They should know what theme is. They should know what character development, good morning. They should know what all these things are. But it's not the core. The core is that they love to read. That's it. That's it. Have a great day.